Welcome to the Up Your Average podcast, where Keith and Doug give no-nonsense advice to level up your life. So buckle up and listen closely to Up Your Average.
All right, Doug, good morning.
Hi.
Here's the question to kick this thing off for you. Maybe it's a statement, and maybe it's what you need to respond to. I believe I am the most confident person I know.
Okay.
What do you think?
It's funny how, would that be a dialogue in your head, or is this something people have said to you?
No, it's just what I believe. When I observe people and I watch their insecurities, I'm like, I do stuff that other people are like, how does he do that? And it's because I just don't really care.
Yeah, my earth suit thinking is I'm not confident at all.
Yeah, I haven't.
And that earth suit stuff comes from, I was Tiny Tim in 6th grade.
Okay.
And I remember the girls making fun of me for being Tiny Tim. You know, I got a D in spelling in 6th grade. And so I've always been a little unsure about how my spelling comes across. These things stick with you. But the confidence, I want to share, I'm staying on track with you. The confidence, and it's interesting you ask this to kick this off. The confidence comes when I trade on somebody else and their success.
Yeah.
And so, like, for me, that's this guy, Jesus of Nazareth, who I think is disguised as God. And in the confidence in our topic today, as I was prepping for today, was this person has allowed me to trade off his confidence. And I've really appreciated that.
Yeah. And I think that's where I'm going with this is if you lack confidence, it's really hard to live fully, I think. And I think a confidence human is probably the most humble person you'll ever meet because
they've seen some stuff.
Yeah. And so you don't need the reinforcement of others to move where you need to move. And the fear of what others think will prevent you from going where you need to go. And so confidence just means, here I go. I don't know what this is going to do. So that leads me to the next idea and why I think I can talk about what we're going to talk about today is elite personalities. And I think I'm an elite personality when I was thinking about this in a couple roles in my life. But most of us don't ever meet elite personalities. Like when you think of an elite personality, outside of what we're going to talk about today, who comes to your mind with an elite personality?
Instantly, it's a ball player.
Okay.
And so I think of someone like Derek Jeter,
okay, or
Aaron Judge, Yogi Berra. I think of these persons that I really don't know.
And an elite personality mentored me for like 25 years before he died unexpectedly. And my friendship with him taught me some of these principles that led me to have a certain confidence about life. I have no idea what tomorrow has in store, right? But I don't need to be afraid of tomorrow.
No.
I don't have any idea who might walk in a door here or who I might meet today, but I don't need to be afraid of them. And so
it's the driver for me who might walk in the door or who I might meet.
Yeah, the motivation of the unknown. That's really scarce. That's scarce in our culture, I think, because people, in my observation, seem to be afraid of a lot of ghosts or boogeymans or whatever you want to call it. And I think that's important with our topic because to do what we do and to move forward, it's really difficult. But when I think of elite personalities, one of the things I know about them is it costs them a lot to get to where they are. I've got I've had in my life probably a handful of elite personalities, and so it costs them a lot. They know things that other people don't know. And I think that's what gives me confidence at the level that I suggest. I think I know some things that I think what I know people need to know. Like I believe that so intently that I'm not really intimidated by anybody. Doesn't matter what their role is. I got the funniest one in my lifetime was I got a photo op with Rudy Giuliani when everybody liked him back then. And I think I got the picture. I don't know where it is, but I asked him, I thought, well, I only got a minute with him, or probably 30 seconds. I'm going to find out some important information. I asked him where the best pizza joint was in New York City, because I'm like, well, I need to know something from him. And that was it. But I think.
And the great thing about that is whether you like him or not in the 90s or what you know of him in 2025, that pizza place is still the greatest pizza place.
It is.
Was it Grimaldi's?
No, it's John's on Bleecker Street in Greenwich Village.
Okay.
Grimaldi's is pretty good too, but John's is, I was there with Wes Kate, and we had to share a table with somebody, and he got to experience Keith up front and live in New York City doing the thing.
Truth is, no matter where it's coming from or what time period or anything, truth is, it's a constant.
Yeah, and so elite personalities that it costs them something, they know something other people don't. They're really scarce, and I think that comes from what my friend Bob taught me, is you have to say no to good things and yes to the excellent, and that's expensive. Like saying no to good things, like you can't go out and have fun with friends as much to become an elite personality. You have to reject thoughts that other people are accepting as common. And that can, when you're doing that, you may not look or feel very confident, because you might feel stupid when you're doing that. And so in that thought process, one of the areas where I'm pretty elite in my own thought process, what I learned during that time is elite personalities can be very lonely, because very few people understand what it cost them to get there. And the season of loneliness I had was like the decade of the 90s. And I emerged out of that. But what I was grasping for at that point in time, everybody was telling me, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. And you have to reject the thoughts of the ordinary to move to extraordinary, I think. And that can be really lonely. So that's the intro to going to, you and I are road tripping it. And I think by having an understanding of elite personalities, I really appreciate them, but I'm never that impressed when I'm in their presence, because I'm not intimidated. I'm not impressed, because I know those things about somebody being elite. And so that attitude ends up putting me in the front of elite people more often than I thought, without ever trying. And that was kind of what you were talking about before we started this, that we are really going to be in the presence of a couple elite people this weekend. And one of them is, I stole this from Bob Goff. He called people his friends. I don't know if you remember that one. And I'd say he's an elite personality, right?
Yes.
And so we haven't really shook hands with Mark Minervini, but I would say we're friends of his, because we've allowed him brain space that we wouldn't give to somebody else. And that's part of my definition. Who do you let up here? They're your friend because they're sharing wisdom with. So Mark,
in some ways, we hear from Mark every day.
Exactly. And then this dude, I love Stan Weinstein.
Yeah.
And look at his hair.
That's a great book. If you like to nerd out on the stock market, that's a really good book.
Yeah. I think I've marked this one up. And this is a 1970s look. So I like that look. And I'm guessing, I've seen him on a podcast in the last couple of years. I'm guessing he's paid. He doesn't look quite like that. I think during the COVID lockdown, I think he almost died, or somebody in his household did. It was really, really dangerous. So here's the deal. We are road tripping in January to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. How does that sound?
Well, it sounds like I don't really want to go, to be frank. But at the same time, this is an opportunity to meet an elite person, or to just hang out with someone who's been special in my life. And so for that reason, I'm willing to trade a day off with my family. They're going to be home for the holiday. So I'm willing to trade that, because this person has been very influential to my life. And we're going to celebrate him.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah, he's
the best,
turning. Oh, go ahead.
he doesn't know that I exist.
Right.
I think very highly of him.
Yeah.
And so he invited us to his birthday party.
Right. Right.
And I'm going to celebrate him, even though he doesn't know Doug exists, but he knows another guy out there does. And that's what my goal is, to celebrate him.
I think one of the things I like about him is he has no real motivation for sharing his wisdom with us other than personal care for other humans.
You're saying no financial.
Well, no, we pay him what people would say is a good amount. But I think if you approach a level that you say, that's probably enough for me.
Oh, like net worth?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that you don't really need somebody else's money at that point. And I don't think he needs our money. I think he priced it in a way to do what Bob taught me about good and excellent. He priced his services in a way that people don't really want to take the energy to discipline themselves, won't do it because they'll think it's a scam. He priced it at a point that you have to burn the ships, as they say. You have to be committed to it. So, but otherwise, why would you give up? If you have the wealth you need, why would you give your time to somebody else other than you care about it?
That's the bottom line. As I was thinking about our weekend, I was thinking, this guy really does care.
And the other person I've got to meet William O'Neill, I don't know how many times, and he would never.
Same.
He wouldn't know who I am. He influenced me. And I would say, I don't think I have a regret because I don't generally live with regrets, but I started understanding him early in my career. And it's really only been the last 5 years that we've really taken what we've learned from him and incorporated it in how we work for you. And I think the reason why that is, and this is pulling back the Wizard of Oz curtain, is people that are financial advisors, in my opinion, they make more money by being good than being great. And that's, I wouldn't have understood that 20 years ago, I don't think, but to be great, you have to not concern yourself with mistakes. And as a financial advisor, it's easy to worry that you're judging me because I made a mistake.
Oh, yeah.
And if I worry that you're judging me because I might make a mistake, I'm not going to take risks that I probably should as a financial advisor. And consequently, to make money, you have to take risks. But if you throttle back the risk, then you're also moving more towards average than great. And so that's a hard psychological thing to even talk about. But I think most of our friends in the industry are more apt to not take risks, because if I take a risk and it doesn't work out well, I could get fired by a lot of people.
I tell you what's encouraged me is there's a few others, financial advisors out there doing the type of stuff that we're doing, that we're learning from Mark, and to know that they exist, that there's other folks out there giving it their best shot is super encouraging. I think of our friend Ron in Oklahoma and Patrick.
Good job, Ron.
Patrick in California. Really encouraged by the way you guys do things.
You've got a friend locally that I forget his name that I thought he's doing some of this too.
Yeah, Burton. Burton is doing great things too. Thank you for remembering him.
Yeah, and so I think I started with the idea of confidence. Is I think you have to find a foundation to move forward in anything in life that's important. That the crowd, I believe, the crowd is generally wrong.
Well, yeah.
And so to go against the crowd,
I would define the crowd as average.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think part of what I'm doing at this season in my career is defending your role, defending Caleb Tyner's role, because there's a thing out there called, what are those mutual funds? Target date funds.
Yeah.
And those target date funds are designed to be really average, but to never blow you up.
Yeah. There's purpose behind them. We get it. But the main purpose is CYA for whoever has the 401k plan.
Maybe, but I think part of it might be a frontal attack on our role. Like if you can get everybody to use those, you can convince them that a financial advisor is really not that critical.
True.
Look what
Yeah.
you did without one.
Yeah, that's true.
Because the regulatory bodies, for some reason, I don't understand it, have made it illegal for us to request you to roll your 401k over to us, right?
Caleb and I were just talking about Kimball Financial's education only policy, and that is the role is education. There's no doubt about it. We want to help extend knowledge to you. We want you to make the best decisions possible, but the landscape of how to do that has dramatically changed in 20 years.
Well, I was telling you the story of jaywalking and how that came to be in the early 1900s, that it wasn't a law until the automobile industry decided it needed to be a law. And I'm familiar with how our industry works enough that I've looked under the skirt. Oh, that's not very nice there. And so I can't think of any other reason why it would be illegal for a financial advisor to talk to their customer about their 401k and even solicit it, other than the big corporations have lobbied enough to get their congresspeople or whoever to make it a law. Because a financial advisor is there to help the client, right? Like, in their biggest financial asset might be their 401k, and we're not supposed to talk to them about it. It just, I don't know if we're even supposed to say this publicly, but it's just an opinion of why we get there. But when you understand those things, you begin to go, oh, well, there's probably a lot of mediocrity and a lot of things in life. And to be elite, you have to go against the grain sometimes. So this is a long intro into, we've talked about Stan Weinstein, we've talked about William O'Neill, we've got several things from Mark Minervini. You were concerned for a couple of years ago, well, it's been 5 now, 2020, in some training we did. David Ryan was in on the training. What do you know about David Ryan?
I only have a few people on my Twitter, and that's just because
it's called X. Though.
Oh yeah, on X. Just because I just can't handle a whole lot of information. I get bored with it quickly, and so on X, David Ryan, he doesn't communicate a lot on there, but when he speaks, it's like what was the E.F. Hutton? What was
when E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen.
Yeah, David Ryan's the same way. David Ryan was a early hire by William O'Neill, who we spoke about, we really admire. And David Ryan, the last conference I went to at the William O'Neill event, he showed up with his son. And they valeted the car. It was a Prius. And I mean,
it's Los Angeles though, right?
I don't know. I mean, here's the deal. I don't even know how many $100 million he's probably worth.
Yeah.
And he's a humble guy, but he loves the stock market. He's a great teacher. And so I listened to him on Twitter. Mike Webster is another guy who's just the real deal. Great communicator. And he does this stuff just to help people learn. And so Keith and I have been inspired by men like these, and their drive to do that is just to make us better investors. And we know that there's a certain population out there who just doesn't want to do this stuff. They're willing to hire people, and we are grateful for you in doing that. And so our sword stays sharp by trading off the confidence, trading off the elite experiences of others. And my hope is to extend that to someone else too. And this industry is full of great people who share their stuff.
I think I've got a book on my bookshelf. It's called Where Are the Customer's Yachts? It's a satire against stockbrokers that was written probably in the 1950s or something. And that's the attitude that's been propagated against financial people for years and years and years. And well, my experience has been that the genuine financial advisors are making huge differences in the lives of people and helping them live their best lives. But the market is pushing against them and naysayers and things. But some of the kindest people and most generous people with their times and thoughts that I've ever found are people that are in this industry. And I think that has happened because of the humiliating experiences you have to navigate to be excellent in this industry. You have to get smacked in the face economically, or you're not really going to learn.
innovation, creativity, that all starts with a small business mindset or an entrepreneurial mindset. Nothing against Fidelity. We use Fidelity. We've partnered up. We've hired Fidelity. Nothing against Schwab or Interactive Brokers or LPL Financial or Morgan Stanley, Merrill. Nothing against those guys. But the independent thought, the independent thinker, the great ideas come when your back's up against the wall. And when you've had a dream and you've been thinking about it, and then you have the permission to execute on it. And that happens with the small financial planner.
And probably the reason that is because big corporations got there usually with a previous generation who understood risk, who understood humility from making mistakes. And then once you get to a certain size, there's mostly the protect where we're at kind of thing, button this thing down. You're not going to be as creative as you get bigger and bigger. And so the idea of taking risk, it comes from a place of confidence, I think, that you're willing to go with where the risk takes you. And I found that probably why performance on the investing side drops off is people get content with what they've accumulated.
Yeah.
And so they don't take the same amount of risk for a lot of reasons. But like our friend Brian is a really good investor in his late 80s. And I don't know that he's ever throttled his risk, right?
And risk and return are not the same thing.
Yeah. So Mark Minervini, he turned 60 this week. We get to celebrate that birthday. Yeah. Stan Weinstein's going to be there. Stan Weinstein is somebody who has invested in Mark, right? Well, Jesse Livermore, he's invested in us. He's been dead and gone for probably almost 100 years. And so the ideas of elite people can open doors for young people today.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful that's who you are. I'm hopeful that you are wanting to live more confidently, to excel. Maybe you don't have to become elite in your particular thing, but maybe you want to put just enough effort so you're almost elite. But either way, there's ideas that can take you places you've never been. You can be in the presence of people you've never been, either via these videos type things, or you can go chase them down. You'll be amazed at how many people will let you in their presence, particularly if you're young. Young people have a past that older people sometimes don't get in the presence of elite people.
Last thing for me, if you are an elite whatever, maybe it's a musician, business person, mom, dad, grandma, if you're elite right now, I want to encourage you with something. And it's something Keith and I were talking about, Mark Minervini. He had a video out there of him playing racquetball or something in his $10 million house, banging it up against the window, right?
Yeah.
And what that did was, for me, is that, man, this guy likes to have fun. He is a funny person.
Yeah.
And I want to encourage you, if you are an elite person, it's easy to have your guard up. And I want to encourage you to add some humor to your life today. And that will allow your friendships to expand to people that you don't even know, but they're going to be cheering you on, just like Keith and I are going to be cheering on Mark this weekend.
And if you are an elite personality and you happen to be my friend and you wonder why I come at you so aggressively, because I want you to have fun. I want you to kind of get out of that space sometimes and expand your life in places that you maybe haven't had the opportunity to, because you had to pursue that level of success that you have. And it is fun. You can throttle down at some point, I think. And in the meantime, I hope this has helped you all up your average.